Good morning, everybody. Good morning in here. Good morning out there. This is Mike Scott's song, Open. Open to the world, open to spirit, open to the changing wind. Open to touch, open to nature, open to the world within. Open to change, open to adventure, open to the new. Open to love, open to miracles, open, beloved, to you. Open to learn, open to laughter, open to being blessed. Open to joy, open to service, open to saying yes. Open to risk, open to passion, to peace and silence too. Open to love, open to beauty, open, beloved, to you. Open to love, open to beauty, open, beloved, to you.
Thank you. Welcome. Welcome to the Unity Spiritual Center of Portland. I'm so happy to be here with you. With our few people in the auditorium, I am so blessed. You're like 30,000, just because you're spread out and your energy's already here. And to everyone in Facebook land and YouTubeville, I welcome you as well. We're very happy to have everyone. And if you are viewing this at a later date than Sunday, February 20th, 2022, we are very happy that you decided to tune in whenever you did. I got to say 2022 for the first time. I haven't even written it on a check yet. I don't write checks anymore. It just doesn't seem to be the thing. But you can always write checks. So what I'd like to do is just start the service by setting the tone for what we hope to experience today. So if you will join me, please, as we recognize the one life, the one presence, the one power, the one beauty that is God, that is our life. And as each of us tune in right now to that very aspect of God that we may need or want or simply wish to admire. We do that right now, letting ourselves feel the fulfillment of Spirit in our lives, in our minds, and in our hearts, so that our expectations for today are to receive exactly what we need, to hear the words we need to hear, and to experience our life as more fully present with the divine. And so as we begin this service today, we keep our eye on our target, and that is love, and that is to experience the joy that is the recognition of the presence of God. And so I let it be, and so it is. And now Beth O'Shields, our wonderful admin, is coming up to give us some announcements about all the goings-on that are happening here.
Good morning. Good morning. I am indeed. There's a lot happening because we're getting ready to open up. Yes, indeed. So all of our upcoming rescheduled classes and events, they're in your newsletter that you receive weekly in your email, and they're also on our website. So at this time, I think they're going to put a QR code up that if you're not receiving that email, you can do so by clicking on that or taking a snapshot, I guess, of the QR, and that'll get you on our mailing list. And if you're unable to do that, just give us a call at the office. We'll get you on the list for sure. So as I said, we are coming back to in-person. Sunday, March 6th, a homecoming here at Unity Spiritual Center of Portland. It is a special coffee and connection and service that day. You won't want to miss it. Now that I got Reverend Lisa out of the building, I can tell you we are having a special celebration celebrating her 15 years of service here at Unity of Portland. I want to mention she has the longest longevity of any minister here other than the founding minister. So it is certainly something to celebrate her years here. And we know that you'll want to be here and be a part of that very special homecoming day. I do want to remind you, for those wondering about coming back into the building, if you're a little concerned, I want to mention we have air purifiers. We have 4 in the sanctuary. We've got a large one in the lobby. We've got 1 downstairs. So we are doing everything to keep things safe for you to come back, and we will be continuing to wear our masks there for a little bit until we get more word. Okay, so coming up this week, today's the last day to register for Karen Trustee's class, The Introduction to White American History. And you know, I listened to some different Unity services during the week, and it's really interesting to see all the different centers that are having different kinds of classes of this nature. And I just felt so fortunate that here we have Karen Trustee, who is a civil rights advocate. She was part of the SNCC movement, which, if you're not aware of that, that is the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee that was back actually creating the history during the civil rights movement. So she was a big part of that. We're very fortunate to have her knowledge, and she shares this information at Portland University, and we're just so grateful that she's going to be here to share it with us or be on Zoom. You can go to the website or the newsletter and register for that. Today is the last day, so make sure you do that when the service is over. Our ongoers are meeting on Zoom this Friday, the 25th. If you're part of that 55 plus group, you should have received an email, or you will be receiving an email from Don Davis this week. And if you're not on the list, again, call us, give us an email. We'll make sure you get put on. Next Sunday afternoon following the service, February 27th at 3 p.m., we're having a free musical concert here in our sanctuary. Pam Morrow, who you all have experienced at our Christmas Eve services, she will be playing her violin. She will have piano accompaniment, and it's totally free. So show up next Sunday, 3 o'clock. It's going to be a great time. There's plenty of room to spread out, and you'll be able to listen to some beautiful classical music. As I mentioned, all of our classes and workshops have been rescheduled, and I just want to make quick mention of some things that are coming up in March. March 13th is our Name Tag Sunday. Drew Rain will be here set up out in the lobby before and after the service. You can make a permanent name tag. It's so important that we know who you are, and we're trying to get away from the throwaway ones. So come a little early or stay a little after the service and make your name tag on March the 13th. It's also a time where we will be doing our Intro to Prayer class, which is going to be a quarterly class held here. It'll be in the chapel following the service. It's about an hour. There's no fee for this workshop. All are welcome. And it's a great jumping off place as we venture into a deeper understanding and practice of prayer. That's Intro to Prayer. on Sunday, March the 13th. There's also a time change that Sunday. It's daylight saving times. We will spring ahead that week, so you might want to make a note of that too. And then on March the 27th, Susie Ellen will be leading a workshop called Beginning Affirmative Prayer. And this is a wonderful basis for creating a rich spiritual prayer life. Very easy step-by-step process that leads to change and enhanced spiritual growth. And we hope that you'll sign up for that. Again, the sign up is online, and make sure you get on that list. I'll be talking a little bit more next week about the annual meeting that's coming up on March 20th. But we do want to make you aware that that is coming up, and we're very excited. We're going to be meeting downstairs this year. We're going to have a little breakfast refreshment, and we're going to do some actual brainstorming on what the future looks like here at Unity Spiritual Center of Portland. So we want you all to come and give us your input for that. And some of you may have noticed you received a sign-up genius. I was so excited to put this in the email this week to get this out. As we are opening back up, we're going to need those greeters and ushers and people who can help us serve coffee and all of those good things. So make sure you take a peek at that in your email and get back to us. And Barbara would like me to remind you that the Youth Ed is also opening up on Sunday, March the 6th. And she's trying to gather some teachers back, and she's welcoming some new teachers. If you're interested, if your heart is leading you that way, we invite you to get in touch with her and find out how you can serve our young people here. But, and I know a lot of parents are stressed. You know, it's been a stressful time for families. So, you know, you can come back, you can let your kids have a wonderful experience downstairs, and you can get renewed and rejuvenated here in our Sunday celebration service. So all that starts back on March the 6th. If this is your first time joining us online, we are glad to have you. We want you to come back on Sunday, March 6th and get a welcome packet. Come back and join us, but we're very glad that you're here. And just have a really beautiful week, and we'll see you in person real soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to sing, yeah?
Yeah. So if you are here,
we can
and you
sing
wanna
along.
Stand up and move around.
Stand up and
We're
stretch.
gonna have a little clapping, a little snapping. Get your groove on here this morning. If you're at home doing the dishes with your AirPods in, just groove around the kitchen a little bit. Okay. Sing each verse twice. Here we go. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Healing. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for my life. Thank you for this life, Spirit. Thank you for this life. Thank you for this life, Spirit. Thank you for this life. This open, this open, this open life. This open, this open, this open life, yeah. Thank you for this life, Spirit. Thank you for this life. Thank you for this life, Spirit. Thank you for this life. This open, this open, this open life. This open, this open, this open. Now joy. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. I'm feeling joy. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This joyful, this joyful, this joyful day. This joyful, this joyful, this joyful day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day.
Love it. And now we have an opportunity to go within and do a little meditation, a little contemplation. And today I'm going to start with not a poem, but it's maybe a mini essay, a beautiful thought I found on Facebook, and I reposted it and got all kinds of comments from friends of mine saying how much they needed that. So I thought it would be a good day to share it with you. But let's just start right now. Moving into the zone, the space where all is well, where we are at peace and release anything that needs to go, so that we are open and available for spirit, clean and receptive, pure and childlike, ready to receive. And so I want to share with you by author Jamie Veron. Trust that it's coming back. The inspiration, the answers, the vision, the energy, the joy. You can't be on all the time. You're not a machine. You're not a robot. There are so many valleys you must walk through in order to recognize the peaks. Your emotions are not just good or bad. You're not just productive or not. You do not exist in that binary. You can't be defined that easily. You can't be summed up like that. Leave space for the dips. Let yourself appreciate the beauty of contrasts. Stop expecting yourself to never need a pause, a break, a lull. It's all part of it. Take an exhale. Let it all come to you when you least expect it. Go live. Go be. Go enjoy. Breathe and release. Let the next step find you with the sunshine on your face, lost in a moment. And so the next 2 minutes of silence, contemplate being lost in the moment. And so we can return slowly to this time, this day, this room, your room, and feel the chair you're sitting on, and awaken to the air you breathe, and feel grateful. Come back, and be here now.
This is a new song that I wrote this week, and Reverend Diane invited me to kind of talk about the process of it appearing, as it always feels like songs appear. So Reverend Diane's topic is about joy this week, and I was watching a program and someone said, "You've got to chase your joy." And I was sitting on the couch and the song just kind of flowed through me. And the real idea about chasing joy is, even though we all have to get up in the morning and go do things that we don't always necessarily want to do, like how can I still find joy in those things? And whenever I'm putting a tent up with my husband, how can I still find joy in doing that? And I've actually said that to him whenever we've been struggling. I've been like, let's put up a tent joyfully. So that's kind of our running joke now. And really what it all comes down to is that I want to feel more of that something, that life, that energy. So the song is called More of You. Checking in to see if where I'm going is the way in which the inner light is guiding me to feel these connections every day. Then every day I'm being pulled by truth. And when I feel the obstacles of doubt and fear in me, I lift my heart and breathe in more of you. I'm coming after you, my joy, chasing after you, my love. Walking till I see the sun shine in these eyes. I'm coming after you, my joy, chasing after you, my love. Walking till I see the sun shine in these eyes. Through this mystery, it all can feel surreal until I take the time to listen. I'm listening to the one and making choices every day, and every day I'm being pulled by truth. And when I feel the obstacles of doubt and fear in me, I lift my heart and breathe in more of you. I'm coming after you, my joy, chasing after you, my love. Walking till I see the sun shine in these eyes. I'm coming after you, my joy, chasing after you, my love. Walking till I see the sun shine in these eyes. I'm coming after you, my joy, chasing after you, my love. Walking till I see the sun shine, shine, shine. I'm coming after you, my joy, chasing after you, my love. Walking till I see the sun shine in these eyes. Ooh, 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 ooh. Thanks.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. I so appreciated being a part of that process with you. And I received the lyrics a few days ago, and I'd already written most of my talk, or at least I had an idea where I was going. And when I read the words, I was like, oh, I gotta have a whole nother talk here. I gotta start over. It was just so inspiring to me. And I trust that you listened attentively to the words of Susan's amazing song. It's so beautifully, to me, my interpretation, it expresses the journey of awakening that we're all on. And that's what we're doing. We're awakening. That's our process, the growth of consciousness. And all those little fleeting touches of light we glean in our quest to know God, to know ourselves as expressions of God, and the way that we are chasing joy and chasing love is because the best part of this was because we are pulled by truth. That had just brought up so many images for me about being pulled back to God whenever I go too far out. It pulls me back. The truth of our being is the truth I'm referring to. The idea of being pulled by truth is fascinating if you pay attention to it, how you personally, in your life, in your circumstances, are being pulled back to the truth of your being. No matter how far afield we might get in our lives, no matter how distracted or distraught, we cannot ever get away from spirit. Good thing. Spirit, or God, is truth, and we are tethered to it. So imagine yourself getting lost, but at the same time having the capacity in any moment to instantly snap yourself back to the truth of your being, that you are whole, that you are made in perfection, that you are complete. Because we are very naturally, innately pulled by it. By it. Thank you, Susan. I'm Reverend Diane Borsakowski, and I'm your guest speaker today and next week as well. Now, for the past few weeks, this spiritual community has been studying the Book of Joy. And this is by the Dalai Lama, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and a gentleman by the name of Mr. Douglas Abrams. And my talk today continues with your theme based on a few chapters that I was assigned out of the book. And as I said, I'll be with you next week as well while Reverend Lisa is taking a very well-deserved break in Hawaii. Now, the book is based on conversations between the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu, and they were together in sort of a retreat at the Dalai Lama's home. And they were being interviewed by Mr. Abrams, who put this book together, of their conversations and their sharing. So this week, my topic title is Obstacles to Joy. Now, as I get into some of the obstacles to experiencing joy, I want to be clear about something very important first. That happiness and joy are not the same things. I'm sure you have an inclination of what that means, but I'm looking at it as happiness is being based on things, sometimes, that are fleeting and that are destructible. They come and go, the things and the experiences, and we get happy or not. Joy is an attribute of God. Joy is spiritual and spiritually based. Happiness is based on material things or transitory experiences. Father Pierre Teilhard de Chardin was a French Jesuit priest. He was a scientist, a paleontologist, a theologian, a philosopher, and a teacher. He happened to give the best definition that I have ever heard. And I've held this statement of his for decades, at least 4 decades. And I try to remember it, and I try to remind myself of it very often as I negotiate and renegotiate my own life path. He said, joy is the most infallible sign of the presence of God. Joy is the most infallible sign of the presence of God. Now, I try to remember this often so that I know I am staying on the most meaningful path I can, to live in the experience of the presence of God. Most of us need to be reminded that we are not separate from God, that God is not some distant being or experience that we want to have, that we are searching for. We need to remind ourselves that we are not dependent on things the way they show up to experience joy as the presence of God. We have a big belief system in our humanness, in our human culture. And that belief is in separation. We have a belief in separation from God, from our good. We think we are distant from it. It's what that belief makes us ill. It's that belief in separation from God that makes us impoverished. It makes us lonely and afraid. Our life journey on this earth gives us all kinds of ways and means to be distracted and far from our joy, or far from our experience of the presence of God. A belief in separation or distance from God is a big, big obstacle to joy. In my opinion, instead of an obstacle to joy, I'd like to look for evidence of what causes joy, what causes us to experience the presence of God. Now, I'm not looking for evidence of happiness, remember. That's too easy. We can see that all the time. What is evidence of joy? Well, Mr. Abrams noted on page 68 in the book that when the Dalai Lama greets you, he takes your hand and then rubs it tenderly as a grandparent might. He looks into your eyes. He feels deeply what you are feeling and touches his forehead to your forehead. Whatever feeling, elation or anguish is in your heart and reflected on your face, it is mirrored in his. But then, when he meets the next person, those emotions are gone. And he's wholly available for the next encounter and the next moment. Perhaps that is what it means to be fully present, available for each moment and each person we encounter, untethered by the ruminating memories of the past and not lured by the anticipatory worry about the future. That's a lot of evidence. Evidence of joy. The Dalai Lama appears to most as the presence of God. Joy is the experience of the presence of God. The Dalai Lama expresses compassion. He's known for this, which is a big sign of the presence of God. And being present is also who he is, in the now, with each person that he meets, leaving the past behind and unconcerned about the future, being in the now moment with what is and what is not. That's a sign that one is experiencing the presence of good, God, or joy. So if compassion is a sign of joy, an obstacle to joy would be selfishness, being self-possessed, or so wound up with our own stuff, our own problems, that we have no real awareness of anything beyond us, beyond our own life. beyond what is really real or important. Living in the now, the present moment, is a sign of joy, a sign of the experience of the presence of God. An obstacle to living in the present moment is rather obvious. It's like living in the past in your head, dwelling on old hurts and wounds and disappointments. We spend a lot of time doing that in the past. Or futurizing what sorrows will come, what I won't be able to perform, without being available in that moment for what is now and for what is here. Living in the now can be consciously practiced. Well, it has to be. You have to be conscious to be in the now. If you find yourself in the past or the future, you are unconscious. Now, there's an easy practice, and I've developed doing this many times every day with different things, and I'm going to share it with you. It's a gentle practice. It's an easy practice. What I would suggest is while you are loading the dishes in the dishwasher or doing them in the sink, pay extra attention to the dish you are working on and see how fast your mind wants to look for the other dishes. How many more are there? What do I have to do after I finish the dishes? Blah, 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 blah. How many are left, and what do I have to do next? Why? Instead, just focus on the one dish and the hot water and your hands and the marvel of running water coming out of your own faucet. Appreciate the dishes and the silverware. I mean, you bought them. I guess you like them. And when you dry your hands off on the towel, note the towel and your hands. Then hang the towel up with care and attention. Now, why would you go through all that with a boring thing like dishes? So, when you are with someone and it matters, and they are talking to you, they're sharing with you, you will be practiced in being here now, being there for them in that moment, and every other moment of your life, to be truly present with what is and what is not. Two obstacles to joy are selfishness, or being self-possessed, and living in the past or the future instead of the now. Those things detract from our ability to experience the presence of God as joy. If you live anywhere but the present moment, you're probably unavailable to any experience that could possibly use your compassion or use your talents. If we're not in the present, how do we give and receive love? The opportunity to love is in every moment you are with another person or with yourself, which is every moment. And don't think for a moment that you're just sitting in a business meeting. You're sitting in an opportunity to demonstrate and experience love and compassion. I love that. How that changes things to think like that. And another wow is think of all the joy that comes of that business meeting. You see, life is not just about getting through stuff to get to the next thing and next through the next piece of stuff. Life is about experiencing the presence of God as you, through you, of being in joy. In the book of Joy, on page 69, Mr. Abrams says, "I have never seen Archbishop Tutu miss an opportunity to thank someone or appreciate what he has been given. He will often stop an entire production or an event to acknowledge all that are present." Isn't that a wonderful trait? Gratitude. And to be willing to verbalize it, loving up people. the people that you support you. Expressing and experiencing gratitude is a sign of joy. Not doing it by rote or because you should, but because you're feeling it. Sometimes we don't feel very grateful, and obviously in those times, we are not experiencing joy. So another obstacle to joy would be thanklessness. Now, I'm sure if you've been in New Thought for any length of time, you have practiced gratitude and thanksgiving. Maybe you've kept a gratitude journal. Doesn't it feel great when you're sitting with that kind of a journal to sit and contemplate all that you are grateful for? It amplifies everything. It amplifies the good. And then you list the things that you're grateful for, and you see this long list. Doesn't being grateful help you to be more giving? If you don't feel like giving, then you're probably not feeling very much gratitude or joy, very much of the experience of the presence of God, if you don't feel like giving. So if you want that kind of joy, then give. Give what you have: love, attention, focus, your talent, your treasure. Give it. When you give, you feel all the good that you have, because you can't give what you don't have. Have it first inside by acknowledging all that you have and express it. We have to actualize the good in order to have good to give and to receive more. Thanklessness is the third obstacle to joy. The last one I'm going to talk about today is a big one. I think it's the biggest one, and it encompasses almost everything. And that obstacle to joy is fear. Now, the Dalai Lama says that we have perceptions about life. He describes some of the perceptions about our life experiences, and we judge them as good, bad, or neutral. And then he says we have responses to those judgments of fear, frustration, and anger. He says we also have responses of fearlessness, kindness, love, and forgiveness. These are systems of emotions, he calls them, and it's how the mind works. Fear is simply a mental projection. The Dalai Lama shared that when he was young, there was a specific place where he would walk by that was in the dark, and there were lots of ghost stories around this place. So when he went there, he would feel something unpleasant. But he said that this was just a mental projection. He noted how simple it is, how quickly it happens before we even know it. Now, there are, of course, times when we need fear. Fear is a good thing. As the Dalai Lama suggests, when a mad dog approaches you barking and gnashing its teeth, then you need to be afraid of it. So you take action. So the trick is to analyze the cause of our fear. Don't just feel it and jump into it and be absorbed by it and then make choices out of that. You know, there's an old acronym for fear, F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. If what we fear is not even real, what a waste of energy, a waste of joy. Fear keeps us from our joy. When someone criticizes you or appears to be angry with you for something, for some reason, analyze it if you can in the moment before you get into protection mode. First of all, we should ask if there is any real need to protect myself or defend myself. Is it real? Is something at stake besides our egos? Are we afraid of being unloved? Maybe there is simply a misunderstanding or misinformation. Maybe the other person is feeling unloved by you. That's really all any of us want. Anytime, anywhere, with anyone. We just want to be loved. And the way to be loved by other people is to be love. Be love in their face. We're so insecure. We think we're such fragile beings that we just might break. In those kinds of instances of fear with others, instead of being upset and afraid that they don't love you, love yourself. Just step into it. Loving yourself. Love yourself enough to love them through whatever it is. It's not about making other people love you. It's about you loving you all the time. So that love of ourselves makes us capable of loving another more fully, more fluidly. Our strength comes from loving ourselves. Our strength against fear or fear of conflict. We have to be strong to remember we are whole in the midst of challenging circumstances. Fear leads to frustration or anger, and anger can lead to hatred when it's untethered. Fear, big, bad obstacle to joy. Fear to anger to hatred. If we let ourselves get to hatred, we then manifest some really ugly outcomes. Check it out. Our country today. Our country's so-called big divide is based on fear. Fear of so many things. Fear of not having enough, not being able to get enough or keep enough. Fear of not being enough. Fear of loss, of being injured. So much of this fear is based in ignorance. Ignorance is not stupidity necessarily. Ignorance is simply not knowing, having no familiarity with. This is one of the worst kinds of fear because remembering the acronym FEAR, false evidence appearing real, ignorance makes us make things up based on other things that were made up. My observations in my spiritual consciousness, my growth path, I observe that ignorance causes and perpetuates racism and the behaviors of racism. Racism is fear, plain and simple. Fear of the unknown or fear based on made-up stuff. My fearful brain could make me ask, hey, if your skin's a different color than mine, what else about you is different? And different could be something to be feared, couldn't it? Fear causes us to think that whatever is different is something to fear, something to be afraid of and protect ourselves against. Fear causes us to try and escape. An example of an attempt to escape is the current refusal to include our nation's history as it concerns what white Americans, most of our ancestors, did to people of color. The hideous, horrible, and downright unthinkable things we did over centuries, specifically to fellow human beings with other than white skin. Now, there are some who are trying to keep this history out of the textbooks and out of schools. Okay, Don't sit there thinking, please, oh, Brother Harry, she's getting political now. No, I am not getting political. I am a minister, and I am getting spiritual. These are spiritual things I am discussing. I am addressing the nature of spiritual growth and how to advance it in us, and the obstacles to that advancement. Helping to heal the need for life-defeating behavior in humanity brings me ever so much closer to the experience of the presence of God. We make mistakes. We are misguided. We propagate ignorance. Racist thinking and behavior is a mistake and comes from the perpetuation of misguidance out of ignorance, and it has to be stopped. Some people's desire to keep our racist history out of textbooks and out of schools makes me mad, and it makes me sad. And if I really let myself go on that train, it makes me think thoughts and have feelings of hatred. Hatred of hatred? Whoa. I have to curb myself in those moments because I sometimes analyze my fear there and I say, I feel helpless to do anything to change this path. This is fear. This is where fear goes. But I'm not helpless. Look at me. I'm talking about it now. And somebody out there is really concerned I'm getting political. That's okay. We have fear of this subject, and it is an obstacle to our collective joy, to our collective experience of the presence of God. Joy is the most infallible sign of the presence of God. So how, if we stay in this place that brings us to thoughts of anger, are we ever going to see God, to experience God, to manifest God? Joy is a sign that God is here. What is anger a sign of? That God is not here? No. God is always here. And let's say the possibility of God's presence in our experience is always available. But we have to make a place, give room, some space for the experience of it. And we cannot do that and be fearful and angry at the same time because that crams the space. It takes away the opening. So where do we go from here? By asking what I'm afraid of? Well, what I think we are afraid of is harm or harming. What we need first and foremost is to find love, because love is the opposite of fear. There is no love in the situation, condition, or manifestation of wanting to hide our nasty history from students and thus deny that next generation the opportunity to heal, maybe heal us. So how do we find love instead of jumping into fear? So now the game is afoot. When we are ready to find love in all people and situations, we have begun the process of dissolving fear, and we have begun the process of creating a new reality. Find love. Search for it with all your might. Next week, I'm going to talk about overcoming fear. And I'll share a beautiful encounter that I had personally with the Dalai Lama. But for now, I want to end today's message with an emphasis on our own individual need to practice, to have a spiritual practice, and to deepen what we do have already. in this wonderful little book, The Energy of Prayer by Thich Nhat Hanh, who just passed, Godspeed. He wrote something that's very much moved me about my own spiritual practice, and I hope it does for you too. If we don't pray and deepen our spiritual practice, we suffer intensely when we don't have what we want in the world. But when we have been in touch with the essence, the suchness of all things, then it doesn't matter if we don't have what we want. Before, if we were not successful in what we wanted, we thought our whole life was a failure. But when we have been in touch with the ultimate dimension, then whether our temple or our practice center burns down, whether people smear our reputation, are jealous of us, or accuse us unjustly, we can still smile and be peaceful and joyful as usual. What we thought to be success, what we thought to be the basis of our happy life, we do not need anymore. Because our happiness is already there in the ultimate dimension. It goes beyond all ideas of success and failure. When we can see that, we and all living beings are of one and the same nature. How can there be division between us? How can there be lack of harmony? We are one with God, with Buddha. So how can there be any division? The deepest desire of a practitioner is to be in touch with the ultimate dimension. Once we have been in touch with the ultimate dimension, then quite naturally our health will get better, we shall be successful in our practice and are helping others. And we shall be able to form a peaceful and joyful community that lives together in harmony. When success doesn't come to us at the level we desire, we still don't see that as suffering. May we all inhabit the ultimate dimension. May we all have joy, and so we shall, and so it is. Thank you. Okay, I think it's time for our offering. Is that right? I'd just like to bring your attention, the screen is coming down here in the sanctuary. It will have the information we need to make our donations online. And of course, there's always an opportunity to mail a check to the church. But I'd like to be more aware of what it is we are doing or we are choosing to do right now. We are giving to ourselves. We are giving from what we have already experienced as the presence of God. Joyful giving. Please contemplate that as you decide how to share of your abundance.
Thank you. It knows no bounds. Giving and receiving, we circulate the love with gratitude and knowing there's always enough. We give thanks. We give thanks. We give thanks with this offering. We give thanks. We give thanks. We give thanks for everything. It knows no bounds.
Thank you. Thank you both. Beautiful music. Now we are going to do our peace song, I guess. Are we doing that when we're online? We can. The words are coming down. Yes? All right. So would you all stand that are here? If you want to stand in your home or wherever you are right now, join us in taking a stance for peace.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Wonderful. Thank you. And now will you join me, please, as we say together the unity prayer. It begins right here on your screen, on your TV screen. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Let that carry you through your week. God bless you all.
I'm coming after you, my joy, chasing after you, my love, walking till I see the sunshine in these eyes. I'm coming after you, my joy, chasing after you, my love, walking till I see the sunshine in these eyes.